No, just the
Okay, so Skidmore von Chicken is a client of mine from the southern part of the United States. I recently received a letter from his lawyer's hacienda down in Mexico. He's incognito until the statute of limitation expires on sending orgone instruments through federal mail. His letter reads as follows: July 26, 2013. My dear friend, greetings and felicitations from my current undisclosed location. You will be pleased to know that the enthusiasm of those who persecute me gives the distinct impression of having flagged, and I hope the delay in the resumption of our correspondence has in no way diminished your vigor in the pursuit of truth in these matters of our mutual concern. In response to your most welcome inquiries as to how I effected my escape from the deep underground military bases of the illegitimate shadow government and their puppet masters, whose name I pass over in the silence of circumspection, I must respond that there are some matters in which I am forbidden by my own voluntary oaths to reveal, but I can provide some hints. You will remember that in my patamusicomathematical musical researches, I had come to the conclusion that the prevailing dogma of pitch relativism was a disaster for mankind. It is commonly believed and taught even to innocent children that the absolute frequency of a musical note is of no aesthetic concern. According to the pernicious and cynical doctrine of the petro-Kabbalists, it is only the relationship between pitches that is perceived by the ear. There is, of course, some truth in this. Every lie of the devil is partially true. Consider a musical note. What is it? We must distinguish between a sound and the conventional notation used to symbolize such a sound. A musical note, say one emitted from a violin or a singer's mouth, can be recorded and presented as a waveform, a function of displacement of a representative air particle, air being the medium of sound in this case, as time passes. But in older times, the note was represented as a dot on a musical staff. This dot's location indicates a relative frequency. The sounds which we call musical notes typically have a predominant frequency. It's the presence of a very strong frequency that makes a sound seem musical. A frequency is the number of events that take place in a given period of time. The frequency with which I brush my teeth, for example, is once per day. The frequency of an equinox is twice per year. The frequency of the musical note, which the nefarious petro-Kabbalists call concert A, is 440 hertz. Hertz means events per second, so 440 hertz means 440 events per second. This event could be, for example, the movement of a vibrating string. This is all basic acoustics, which I'm sure you know already. The interesting thing is that there's a relationship between what seems to be a subjective perception and the mathematical relationship between two frequencies. When we double a frequency or cut it in half, we perceive the new frequency as being somehow the same as the previous frequency. For instance, if we say A is 440 hertz, then half of that, 220 hertz, is also called A, and twice of that, 880 hertz, is also called A. This is what's called an octave. You can hear the two notes that are octaves of each other sound the same but different. I'll demonstrate. That's pure math that you're hearing. When I play octaves together, they sound like a pleasing harmony, but there's also a physical effect. When I play a note at 200 hertz, a string tuned at 400 hertz will vibrate at a distance. Gary, you and I, you know that I believe all psychic phenomena are resonance phenomena. In the secret of the octave, heaven touches earth. The objective and subjective become one. The octave is the foundation of the way that we think about music and harmony. There is also the note that's created by multiplying by 3. This is stupidly called a fifth. On these two notes, the harmonic science of heavy metal is founded. In order to achieve clarity in our thinking about music, I propose we throw out all scales, modes, notations, and doctrines, and start anew using only pure frequencies, their octaves and the fifths. Our planet vibrates as well. There's a standing wave in the atmosphere at 7.83 hertz. When humans live underground, for example in deep underground military research compounds, this frequency must be replaced or the people will get sick. This frequency, which is formed by the empty cavity between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere, is called the Schumann resonance. Suffice it to say that when things got extremely bleak for me, Gary, I have to tell you, when I saw the fermentation pits of the Nephilim, I lost all hope. It was my knowledge of resonance that allowed me to escape from that deep underground military base. Skidmore goes on. I knew that there must be a Schumann resonator which kept the bad guys alive so deep under the Nevada desert. And I used my muscle memory of the Schumann frequency along with a creolization of an ancient mantra to transcend my situation. I enclosed the text of this translation of the Supreme Paraprajnamita Sutra in case you may someday need it. Just one note. We in the West are so frightened of emptiness. I suggest you think of empty as, say, the quality of a superb listener or a good drum, and not just as the gas tank the petrocabalists want you to picture. Okay, so now I'm going to play the song that Skidmore von Chicken sent me in the exact frequency of an octave of this Schumann resonance of the Earth's ionosphere. What did I see? Seeing itself was empty. Matter is empty. Feelings are empty. My thinking is empty. I'm gone. gone. Hey, hey, enlightened one, I'm full empty. All you see is a big hole where I used to be, 'cause I'm gone. Far gone, real far gone, real far gone. Everything's empty, your mind's a void, consciousness. A TV movie's got nothing on this, I'm gone. Gone. Feeling's empty, mind's a void, soul is empty, the will's void. I don't want nothing, don't get annoyed if I'm gone. Nothing to know, nowhere to go, nothing to see, nothing to be, nothing to learn, nothing to burn. I'm gone. Beyond real far gone, real far gone, real far gone. Hey, hey, lightning home. Everything is the way it's always been. Never begins, never ends, never growing, nowhere going. Ain't it ain't saying that I'm gone. There's nothing to take, nothing to lose, nothing to gain, no suffering, no end to suffering. There's no old age, no end to old age, no way. I'm gone. Gone.
There's nothing to gain, there's no fear anymore. And the fear never really was there before, and it's gone.
Mr. von Chicken goes on in his letter as follows. I must confess my emotions were mixed when I heard that you had lost your job. Of course, I understand the anxieties that penury brings. Hardly. He has a family fortune. But I am also glad that you are no longer earning your daily bread at the cost of your eternal soul. As you may have concluded from my sardonic asides, I do not support the conclusion of the petro-capitalist-dominated International Organization for Standardization that the proper value for concert A is 440 hertz. The best excuse I've heard for this particular number is that piano tuners like it, which stretches my credulity as an explanation for the adoption of a worldwide standard. Something nefarious is afoot. Some point to the diapasons of the Schreiber tonometer, which makes no sense, as he attempted a binary philosophic tuning which would have resulted in an A of 430 hertz. My research has shown that almost all accordions and harmonicas are built with an A which is actually closer to 444 hertz, and it is on harmonicas and accordions that the future of music will be built. As discussed, any note has octaves above and below which are somehow identical in quality to it, although they are quite evidently different in pitch. This series of octaves are extremely specific and can be found by multiplying the original frequency by powers of 2. So, for example, if we take a frequency such as the day, or 24 hours, we can find it has octaves of 12 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, 90 minutes, and so on, until we find that 25 octaves up it has a corresponding note just below middle A at 388 hertz. This makes a nice G if we choose 437 as concert A. Imagine my surprise that the octave of the week turned out to be 444 hertz. Are the German accordion members onto this? The 7-day week dates back to ancient Babylon, was adopted by the Assyrians and codified by the Israelites after their sojourn in captivity and studied with the mages of Chaldea. How many centuries have our ancestors been reeling from week to week in an unending procession of pagan planetary pageantry? But the septimate week corresponds not only to the planets of alchemy, but also to the 7 notes of the diatonic scale, the 7 archangels of Catholic theology, the 7 deities of the Yedzini, the 7 rays of Alice A. Bailey, the 7 colors of the rainbow, the 7 chakras, and of course the 7 vows. Today, however, the 7-day week is spread as part of the occult impedimenta of capitalism, the regular closing of markets. So, in order to get right with the rhythms of human commerce, I exhort you, Gary, to permute the 7 vowels of the ancient Greek tongue with a frequency of 440 hertz to see for yourself. Even better, do it at 104 beats per minute, which is also an octave length a week. Okay, so I'll try Skidmore's experiment here. I've already used the oscillation of quartz crystals in order to tune my guitar precisely to 444 hertz.
Well, come here. Right, I'm just like, oh, it's so distracting now. But yeah, you're writing them in material level. Come here. Right. And what are you coming out with the
so different now.
I'm wearing weird pants.
Yeah, you changed your routine.
Yeah, it was.
And your hair was different, so I didn't, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm videotaping, so I was,
No, I'm so blessed.
thank you for coming. I didn't expect to see you.
In the conclusion of Skidmore von Chicken's letter to me, he goes into a sort of exhortative passage. It says, "Finally, I ask you to consider tuning your instrument to the resonant frequencies of your own head, to the room in which you will be emitting sound, to the molecules of water that make up your body. Instead of wallowing in willful ignorance about the properties of sound, we should be seeking some rational basis for our tuning." The fearless researcher, Dr. Douglas Newhanby of Newark, researcher at the famous New Jersey Institute of Technology, studied human minds in meditation with EEGs and found them to cohere at a frequency of 10 hertz. So for our last bit tonight, we're going to perform an E at 640 hertz, which is achieved by setting our quartz tuners at A equals 433 hertz. And for words, this is several, 8 octaves up from the 10 hertz signal emitted by minds in meditation. And for words, we're going to use the most popular mantra of meditators everywhere, Om. Got to set in the coordinates. Skidmore says, my dear, I exhort you to be unceasingly vigilant in your resistance to the petrocatalists. They do not sleep, so we cannot afford to rest. But we cannot meet evil with evil. No, rather follow in the path of the great heroes of our tradition, Liberace, Fuzzy the Bear, Charlie Rich, the Silver Fox, and the others, and fight evil with the philosophical weapon of mind that I forged from the manacles of my oppression. Yes, Gary, let them have it. You can defeat them, but only if you master the art of passive aggression. Skidmore von Chicken. When he gets back from Mexico, I'll have him come out and play for y'all. Thanks very much.